We all know we're supposed to eat healthy, but how do you actually do that when you have health conditions that impact what you can and can't eat? I'm a dietitian, and in today's video, I'm going to be answering that question, as well as sharing my own experience with my own health conditions and how I adapt my diet in response. Hair. What's up, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I am fatigued. Shocker. If you haven't seen my last video, I talked way more in detail about that. But today I am drinking some tea. What is it called again? I haven't had it in a while, but I've resorted to my English black tea from the Bigelow brand because it has a little bit of caffeine in it and I'm really fed up with my energy levels. Anyway, I'm really excited about today's topic because as a dietitian, I'm always hearing and just kind of getting this sense that people think there's a perfect diet. One diet that's going to work for everybody, that if you follow will make you look beautiful, you will have zero health issues, and everything in your life will be peachy. But that is not the reality. There's no perfect diet. There's no one diet that's gonna work for every single person because there are a lot of factors that come into play. And one of those is health conditions. If I wrote a meal plan for you that included strawberries in it, which of course are a fruit, a whole food, it has lots of nutrients, vitamins and minerals in it, which are really good for you, but you're allergic to strawberries, you're not gonna be eating those strawberries, or if you do, some stuff's gonna go down. And so it's stuff like this that impacts the way that we eat. My point is that a perfect meal plan for one person may not work for another person, and it may not work for you. So there's no one way to eat. As a dietitian, nutrition and just kind of health in general is really important to me. And I do think that I have a balanced diet. However, I also understand that the way that I eat isn't gonna work potentially for literally anybody else except for me. One of the major influences on my diet are my health conditions, and you may even have health conditions of your own that impact the way that you eat. So I thought this would be a really interesting topic to cover, and let's just get started. The first health condition that I have is morning sickness, and this is something that I've been experiencing on and off since I honestly can't even remember. At the very latest, the beginning of high school, but potentially I could have also been experiencing this in middle school or even elementary school, and I literally just can't remember, but it's been going on for years and years and years. Just to give you an idea, I'm 23. At the beginning of high school, I would have been 14. So almost 10 years that I've had this kind of on and off. When most people hear morning sickness, they think of a woman that's pregnant, and that's not what this is. I don't know why I have it. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it comes and goes, but this has just been something that I've had for a long time. When I am in a period with morning sickness, and this can be a month long, this can be many months, it just kind of depends. I think I even had maybe like 2 or 3 days last week where I had it. So it kind of varies with the length of time, but whenever I am in a period with morning sickness, I cannot eat breakfast at all. I am so incredibly nauseous. My nausea will actually wake me up around 5 a.m. and I cannot sleep, so all I really can do is read. So I get out a book that I've already read before that I really like, and so I try to take my mind off of the nausea, distracting myself with a really nice story, and I take some chewable Pepto-Bismol tablets, and I drink some water, and I just kind of wait for the nausea to go away. Like, I just read for hours and hours and hours. So when I am in a period of morning sickness, I don't eat breakfast. If I can get anything down, it usually will be like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. and then it's called morning sickness for a reason, so it basically is gone by about noon. I have tried eating early in the morning when I would normally eat breakfast, and whatever I eat just comes back up. It won't stay down. There have even been times where all I've had is water and my chewable Pepto-Bismol tablets, And if you know Pepto-Bismol, you know that it is like neon pink. So when I've had that, I've sometimes thrown it all up and the toilet water is pink. Sometimes my breakfast consists of ginger ale, like a little bit later in the morning. But sometimes, I would say most of the time when I have morning sickness, I'm not getting anything down. There's no breakfast, and I definitely end up eating a little bit less in the day, or I may even stay up a little bit later at night and kind of push the eating hours back. So that's like the major impact on my diet when I'm in a period with my morning sickness. My next condition is anxiety. I've been diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, but every time that I've talked to a therapist or a psychiatrist, I've had multiple people tell me that they think that I have a little bit of generalized anxiety disorder as well, because before I started taking medication, I was kind of just anxious anytime that I was awake. I specifically wanted to put this condition after the morning sickness because the way that it impacts my diet and the way that I eat is similar, because when I am super anxious, I feel very nauseous. I know that a lot of people, when they're in emotional distress, they eat more, but it's the complete opposite for me. Like, I just feel very sensitive in my stomach and I don't feel like eating. My stomach, for some reason, seems to feel the most sensitive in the morning, especially the earlier in the morning that it is. So when I am nauseous, I just eat less. Now with the morning sickness, the nausea is in the morning and it goes away by lunchtime. But when I'm experiencing nausea from my anxiety, it lasts the whole day. It is a little bit different though, because I'm not truly nauseous, it just kind of feels that way. So I can still eat, I just eat less because it's kind of harder to eat. So my diet really consists of smaller meals and maybe more snacks throughout the day, just to make sure that I'm getting enough calories and nutrients in my body, even when I'm not feeling like eating as much. And of course, as you probably can imagine, I will drink more ginger ale or eat more bland foods, especially earlier in the day, to try to not upset my stomach and make sure that whatever I am eating and swallow stays swallowed. All right, on to our next health condition. The third health condition I have that impacts the way that I eat is called TMJ, and that stands for, let's try this out, shall we? Temporomandibular joint disorder. There's no D in TMJ, but it's kind of implied. So this was actually diagnosed by a dentist, and what it means is that your jaw muscles are not working properly, and it can be the left side, the right side, or both sides, and I believe for me it's the left side. If you have TMJ, it can be very painful. I remember at one point when it was really bad, I actually could barely open my mouth, like my jaw was locked and I could barely open my mouth enough to get food in, and chewing was extremely painful, but it was also so painful that even when I wasn't chewing and I wasn't moving, my jaw just hurt so badly. This actually resulted from my social anxiety disorder, because I guess when I'm anxious, I clench my jaw, and that came out in TMJ. So of course, if it hurts to move my jaw and I can barely open my mouth, we have a problem when it comes to eating, don't we? Something I had to give up when I was diagnosed with TMJ was chewing gum. Now obviously this isn't part of my diet in terms of like I'm swallowing it and getting nutrients from it. Gum doesn't like give me anything in terms of like health benefits, but I just wanted to put it in here because it was something that I was putting in my mouth and chewing like all the time. And I think that this was a coping mechanism for my anxiety, just kind of like giving myself something to do, kind of like a fidget spinner, but chewing gum. And I had to stop doing this because it was just exacerbating the problem. And what the dentist was explaining to me was the more that you use your jaw, the more it's gonna get inflamed and you're gonna feel pain. The next way that this impacts the way that I eat, and this is like a big one, is I just drink my food a pretty good amount. I'm a big smoothie drinker, And more recently, I've also gotten to a little bit of juice, but I definitely prefer smoothies because with a smoothie, you're blending up the entire fruit or vegetable, whereas with a juice, you're just getting the juice out of it. So you actually have fiber in the smoothie, which helps with digestion and absorbing all the nutrients from the food. It also helps you to feel full, so you don't have to drink as much before you feel full. Whereas with juice, there's no fiber in it. As a dietitian, if somebody was drinking a smoothie, I would recommend that they chew like a cracker or something with it, because chewing actually helps you to feel full. And even though the smoothie does have fiber in it, so it would be better than a juice, you are still drinking the food, and so it moves down your digestive system way faster than it would if you were actually eating the whole food. And so that can actually cause everything to move faster in the digestive tract, and then you still feel hungry and you eat a lot more. Oh my God, this guy with the motorcycle, I literally cannot. You know what, this guy is not killing my vibe, so I'm just gonna keep talking, and I apologize if you can hear the engine in the background. I tend to drink things more slowly and take sips and kind of wait in between sips, and that helps slow everything down. It's kind of a mindful eating technique. So that's kind of the way that I get around having to choose something else. But also I'm just kind of aware of that, so I think that also helps. Now, I drink a lot of smoothies, and sometimes I'll put like juice in there, obviously because then I don't have to use my jaw as much, so it gives my jaw a break. Just like now that I don't chew gum, I also give my jaw a break. I'm also just a little bit more aware of the consistency of foods that I'm eating. I definitely avoid foods that are really chewy, so like I tried boba one time, and when I was chewing the boba balls, I was like, oh yeah, this cannot be a regular thing because this is taking so long. And I just know that if I'm eating this all the time, my jaw is going to scream. I'm also just kind of willing to look a little bit gross. Like, this happens actually a lot of times with asparagus. I love asparagus, but sometimes, I don't know if it's just not cooked properly or if it's just the asparagus itself was like a bad batch or something, but sometimes I'm chewing asparagus, or it could be another food, and I just keep chewing and I keep chewing and I keep chewing, and it's just not ready to be swallowed yet. That happens a lot with meat too, especially meat fat. If I'm chewing and chewing, I'm like, oh my God, like I've been chewing, I swear, for like multiple minutes, it's still not ready to be swallowed, I will just spit the food out. Like, it's not worth the pain. TMJ definitely does not like wipe out my food options. I think that I kind of eat almost anything that I want, but if it ends up being too chewy, I will spit it out, or I may not even finish all of what I had on my plate. It's okay for me to have something chewy as long as it's just not like everything on my plate for every meal and every snack. We gotta make sure that that's not happening, because that will definitely irritate my jaw. But if it's just one thing, like if it's just like a couple asparagus sticks, I should know what they're called, but I don't, that I have to spit out, that's okay. Let's move on to the next condition. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome over 3 years ago in 2020, and it's a real pain. I did work with a doctor, and I got to a place where I, for the most part, feel like I don't have it. Like, I have a good amount of energy, although I would say that my baseline is kind of low energy, but most of the time I would say that I'm not fatigued. However, the fatigue comes back, and it comes back with a vengeance. Last year, I actually was fatigued every day for 3 months. When I'm fatigued, it can be very hard to eat because I just don't have the energy. Like, literally, I could be like falling asleep while I'm trying to eat. I'm like, no, we cannot nap right now. I need to get nutrients and calories into my body. I'm not gonna be less fatigued if I don't eat food. I need to eat. These kids be out here so loud. Since moving in to an apartment by myself and having to cook and prepare all of my meals, it has been pretty hard. One of the ways that my diet is impacted is that I eat a lot more microwavable meals, or when I make something, when like I actually cook something from scratch, I'll make a decently big batch so that I have leftovers that I can just heat up, because especially dinner time is like my enemy, because obviously towards the end of the day, you're gonna have less energy, right? But then if I'm fatigued as well, I really just don't have the energy to cook a whole meal. So having a microwavable meal or some kind of leftover on hand that I can just pop in the microwave for a few minutes and then eat makes it so much easier. And now that I think about it, the smoothies probably also help with that, because I will often just pour myself a smoothie as my drink for dinner. Now, in the process of getting me from like basically having no energy every single day to having energy every single day, I tried a lot of things under the guidance of a doctor, and I can't totally say, oh, this specifically is what helped me, because I was just trying so many things all at once to try to get my energy up. But all I can say is one of the things I tried was gaining more weight, because I had actually lost weight unintentionally in 2020. And I thought, well, let's at least get back to the weight that I normally am, and then potentially gain a little bit more and just see if my energy goes up. And I did find that over time, I gained weight and I also got more energy. Once again, I was doing other stuff at the same time, so I don't know if me gaining weight really helped or just like being a heavier weight helped, but I just want to continue that because it seemed to work, so we're just gonna keep going with it. This impacts how I eat in terms of when I eat and how many times per day. Me eating on a schedule really helps to make sure that I'm eating enough food throughout the day to keep my weight how it is now. I'll even be a little bit more specific if you really want to know the details. I eat breakfast if I can. Once again, conditions 1 and 2 make that hard sometimes, but if I can eat breakfast, I do usually around, if I have to go to work, 7, but if I don't have to go to work, then it might be more around 8 or 9 a.m. Then I have a snack around 10:30, and that happens every time that I'm at work. If I'm not at work, then honestly, I don't usually eat a snack. But when I go to work, because I eat breakfast earlier and I eat lunch at the same time, there's more time in between the 2 meals, so then I get hungry. Then I eat lunch around noon. I will have a snack around 2 p.m. Then I have another snack around 4 p.m. And then I eat dinner around 5. I also will have a snack, we'll just say around 9. I basically eat 6 to 7 times a day, and that's just what works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Another way that I keep my weight up is I eat things that most people would deem unhealthy just because it's higher in calories or in fat. Fat has the most calories of the 3 macronutrients, and so if you have something that is higher in fat, you are also having something that is higher in calories. So that's why fast food, it's cooked in oil, fat, is higher in calories. Well, that's one of the reasons. I definitely don't hold back when I eat ketchup, any kind of other sauce, salad dressings, and I actually prefer like bland flavors. So I'm not really a huge fan of like sauces and dressings, but when I feel like eating them, I don't hold back. I also drink 2% milk. I actually grew up drinking skim milk, and so if I had a choice, like just based on preference, like Monique, would you prefer to have skim milk, 1%, 2% whole? I'm gonna choose skim milk every time. However, I no longer drink skim milk. I only drink 2%, and that's because it's higher in calories. And yes, it is higher in saturated fat, which isn't the healthy kind of fat. But that's okay with me because it's more important that I get more calories in me, and my diet generally, at least last time it was evaluated by a registered dietitian, not myself, I was told it was pretty low in fat. So I don't think that's really hurted me. Those are probably the biggest ways that my chronic fatigue syndrome impacts my diet. If you want to know a little bit more about my chronic fatigue syndrome and what I've been going through with it lately, then I have a video about that, so definitely check that out. With that, I'm going to move on to the next health condition that impacts the way that I eat. This video is just a perfect representation of the way that you look does not necessarily equal how healthy you are. My last health condition is hypotension, and I always like to say I have hypotension with symptoms. Literally when I edit it, it's gonna be like the opposite way I always do that. It's fine. It's fine, Monique, it's okay. I like to say that because hypotension is the opposite of hypertension. Hypertension is high blood pressure, hypotension is low blood pressure. So I have low blood pressure. And hypotension actually can be totally healthy, totally normal, and you can have no symptoms and live a perfect life with it. Actually, like, I've been in the ER multiple times, another story, and I have been concerned because my blood pressure was low, and the nurses are always giving me attitude like, it's fine, it's normal, okay? The problem is they say it's fine because it is if you don't have symptoms, but guess who does? Now you may be wondering, what are the symptoms? Fatigue, which I already have problems with. But another one, which is probably like the scariest one for me, is fainting. Now, the fainting doesn't just happen randomly. It can happen if you stand up too quickly. And I've also had this happen many times where if I stand up too quickly, my vision actually temporarily goes black. And by temporarily, I mean maybe for like 5 seconds, and then it comes back. And it also can happen when you overheat. So if it's like super hot outside, or I'm stuck in like a car and it's super hot, or even, and this is like the scariest one, if I'm in the shower and the water's too hot, and obviously I've got like the door closed, so then all of the steam and the heat is just concentrated, I can faint. My hypotension impacts my diet in multiple ways. Now, the first one is that I drink a lot of water. However, I already drank a lot of water before I had hypotension and before I was diagnosed with it and started experiencing the symptoms, but it does impact my diet in terms of like, I am aware of that drinking a lot of water helps with my symptoms from the hypotension. So that thought is coming up of like, oh, I haven't drank water in like an hour, I should be drinking some water. Or I'd say like one that I really think is like, how full is my water bottle right now, and how full is it usually at this time of day, like especially at work. I have had days where I'm filling up my water bottle before lunchtime, and I've had days where it's literally the end of the day and I'm about to leave and go home, and I still have water in my water bottle from that morning. So I'm just making sure that I'm drinking a good amount of water throughout the day. And if I'm feeling like lightheaded or dizzy, then I definitely make sure that I drink a lot of water. I try to sort of like catch up, but if I can, just preventing dehydration and just kind of sipping throughout the day is a really helpful thing for me. I am so sorry about the noise. I hope you cannot hear that. I got a refill, so we are set for the rest of this video. While drinking a lot of water is an important part of my diet and treating my hypotension with symptoms, because I already drank a lot of water before these symptoms came up, I would say the biggest impact to my diet is salt/sodium. Now, most people in America eat way too much salt. So any recommendations that I'm making, especially to the general public, are generally gonna be low sodium recommendations. Eating salt and eating more of it is actually better because it's going to raise my blood pressure to a more like normal, healthy level where hopefully I'm gonna have less symptoms. So I think that people would probably be shocked if they saw what I eat. Like when I was talking about having microwavable meals. Now, obviously I do see the value in cooking my meals, and I have been working on cooking more of my meals, but I honestly don't feel that bad when I have a microwavable meal or I eat pizza or some other kind of food that is higher in sodium, because I know that that actually is going to help me with my symptoms from the hypotension. Sometimes I will even add a little bit of iodized salt to something if I feel like it could use it, because I'm honestly not like a big salt fan, but if I'm actually like, this could use a little bit of salt, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. My point is I do not hold back on the salt. I already don't really eat that much salt. I'm not really like a huge fan of it, but I know that it actually will raise my blood pressure and help decrease the really uncomfortable and sometimes scary symptoms that I experience. These health conditions that I have definitely play a role in shaping what my perfect diet looks like. And they're a big reason why my perfect diet probably isn't gonna be your perfect diet. But just keep that in mind, because whatever your diet looks like, as long as it's serving you, it's your perfect diet. If you are currently not happy with your diet, then I would definitely recommend working with a doctor and a registered dietitian. Now, a registered dietitian is really great for the meal plan nutrition part. Registered dietitians are the experts, and make sure that they are a registered dietitian, not a nutritionist. What the doctor is really great for is recognizing drug-nutrient interactions. So if you take any medications for any health conditions that you may have, definitely you're gonna wanna talk to your doctor about that to see if there's anything that you need to be avoiding or just any kind of feedback that they have based on that. And then you and the doctor can pass that information along to the registered dietitian that you work with to make sure that whatever meal plan you and the professional comes up with is going to be safe for you and your body. If you watch this entire video through, then health and eating a healthy, balanced diet is probably really important to you. And as a dietitian, I recommend to almost anyone to cook meals from home. And I actually have a video on 25 kitchen essentials that you need if you want to cook healthy meals from home. So make sure you check that out next. If you enjoyed this video, please show me the love by giving it a like. You can also subscribe to my channel for similar content in the future. And if you want to stay up to date with me, you can follow me on Instagram at moniqueava.nutrition. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Make sure, can I phrase this? I need to phrase this better. Sorry, I just saw a bug outside. And I was just like, everyone else had